So I'm always talking about Google My Business. But what about Bing Places? What about putting Bing Places against Google My Business? Is that a fair battle? What do you think the outcome would be? Well, most of you would say it's ridiculous to put Bing Places in the same ring as Google My Business. We know from this channel that Google My Business is the champion when it comes to your business being shown on the internet. And most of you would know that Bing Places is never going to get close to the market share that Google currently has. And of course, things change. We could go back a few years and know that Microsoft were the kings at one point, but now Google's taken over that crown. And I would agree with that thought, except now I'm just wondering whether we should start to investigate a bit more about Bing Places. And I'll explain why I've gone down that avenue today. So I asked the question, is it worth worrying about Bing Places? And probably the majority of you haven't even looked at what Bing Places involves and what it produces. But quite clearly, it has a very similar type of look to Google My Business. And if you compare Bing Places and the knowledge panel they provide for your business, you'll see that there's a lot of similarities. So in this video, I'm going to show you why Bing Places shouldn't be forgotten. I'm also going to reveal to you how you can get the power of Bing in just one button. And finally, I'll look at the mindset needed from you to make Bing succeed in the future. So let's go back to that first question then. So why Bing? Well, Bing's just got a whole lot easier. I think Bing's recognised that they haven't got the market share. And so what they've done is they've made something that's quite useful if you're a Google My Business user. And if, like me, you're concerned about your brand and how people perceive the brand of your business, then you're going to need to follow part of the tutorial. I mean, taking Bing as a standalone, it has no market share really compared to Google. Google My Business, they reckon on a business sense alone, gets 90% of the share, and it leaves about 10% for Bing Places. But in that 10% niche area that Bing has, it could just be that in your particular competition, in your particular business area, that there's no competition at all. It could be that that 10% is there to be grabbed because no one else is optimizing for Bing Places. So potentially you could become the big fish in the small pond, which has to be better because in some ways you can be lost in Google My Business pond because there are so many people in there. There's so many businesses there competing for those top 3 spots. So could you get the top 3 spots for Bing Places? Probably, because it's quite an easy area and there's not the competition that you're used to with Google My Business. So I mentioned the power in just one button within Bing Places. Let me show you how that works by jumping onto the computer. So I log into my Bing Places for Business and I'm just going to check a few things. It's a bit of an MOT really, but if you notice, if I work through here, obviously I'm just checking my information is correct. And if I've got special hours and so on, I can add that. But there's so many more things that have been added since I last went in here. And I think one of the most important things is here, reconfirm your business phone, confirmed 228 days ago. So that might just be important because if that's picked up, then it might be that that just gives a flag to other places like Google. So we just want to make sure that's picked up. So this is correct. I'm just going to put that on there. Confirm again the business. So it's all a bit about confirming the NAP. So this is correct. What we're doing is we're just telling Bing, yes, we are still here. We're not going anywhere. And by doing that, we're just giving really another signal. If we can give the authority to Bing, that in effect will send back authority to Google My Business. So I'm also just going to do this, sync with Google My Business. As I add more information to Google My Business, I don't want to be then coming over to here as well. So we can keep your business information updated by syncing it. Now, if that sends a little signal back to Google My Business, that can't be a bad thing. So I'm going to click sync. And what that's going to do now is it says, how are we using that information? Basically giving permission to sync. So I'm going to click that. And how often do I want it? I'm going to do it weekly, go for the maximum. I'm just going to then check a few things like the images. So they've taken a few images here. So review the image. So that's a good image for my business. And you're just really picking some of the best photographs to represent your business. I'm just going to go for a few more of these and then submit. So let's view the listing on Bing Maps.
So they've grabbed a load of images and they've then put together, they've picked up on some stars from my Yale, and then you can just see they've picked up on things here as well. So there's a very, very similar look to Google My Business. It's kind of a very, very similar look. Okay, what happens when I do now search for my company? So I get like a little knowledge panel here. So a nice link through to LinkedIn. And then it picks up on a few things. Not so sure on those images actually, but picks up, gets some reviews. So basically it's combining it with Yale, and not quite the same. If I click on website, it takes me through to the website.
So what's the type of mindset needed then going forward? Well, think about your branding. Think that this 10% is an important 10% to improve your branding. Think about the fact that your market share may not be complete without having Bing Places in place. And also think about the fact that you can manipulate Bing Places far more easier than Google My Business now, because the competition's not there in Bing Places. So why not take advantage and see whether you can get the top spot in that 10% business? The mindset is really the big fish in the small pond syndrome. So really, to become a big fish within Bing Places, Bing Places, that would be one of the goals, one of the mindsets to have here. So Bing's easier to manipulate, there's less demand. It's easier to use because there's less competition. And what's interesting is remember that Google My Business respects Bing Places, and Bing Places respects Google My Business. So actually, by getting your Bing Places in place, Google My Business sees that as a positive signal. You notice Bing Places uses YouTube, it uses Yale or Yellow Pages or Yale.com. It goes to the other authorities and then gets its own authority. And then Google My Business goes to Bing and gets its authority. And so all of these areas, even if they're just 1% here and 1% there when it comes to citations and indexes about your business or your brand, they all build that trust, that authority, and that expertise, that EAT that we often speak about on this channel. Now, if you want to understand what EAT is and how to improve your expertise, authority, and trustworthiness, then head over to this video and I'll explain how it works.